Reflection is a wonderful thing. Time to regroup and gather thoughts about the coming years ahead and what needs to happen. A field full of cows may not be the best inspiration in order to look towards the future, but it's a start, I suppose. It is time to perfect the vision, plan the play, doing it today. A perfect spark, a planned fuse, implementation, boom. A reimagining of a tired old office full of cables, full of consoles, full of first world problems. Something that time could fix, and with enough dedication to hand, and a little bit of money, this tired old room could spark into action, promising dedicated tool manipulation. For years and years I watched as the wires piled up, multiple consoles requiring sufficient cable management to bring them back to life. Outgrowing my previous room already meant drastic action needed to be taken, and the office was a prime opportunity. Why? Well, why not? But this meant the glass simply had to go. Too much time with glass shelving units meant that they were outstaying their welcome and were no longer fit for purpose. Years of console and cable acquisition had meant that things had to change for the better, and better storage solutions were needed. The corner glass unit will be the first thing to be ripped down and reimagined. Not sure yet what to do with the Monkey and Sonic, so they can rest for now. I mean, just look at this cabling. Unacceptable. Couch is practical, but clearly in the wrong place. But lurking above it is a real opportunity. It did seem a good idea at the time, until I realised that this was not hours or days to complete a reimagining of the room. This would be several weeks of constant revisions. But with a plan and an idea in my head, it was time to get cracking. One shelf and one unit at a time. Removing the shelves meant a replacement was needed, which meant a trip to a magical place of construction and desire, IKEA. A Swedish giant famous for good meatballs and more multi-fit shelving ideas that you can throw a small stick at. IKEA is a powerhouse of dream room designs. Weaving your way through the decadent fitted rooms gives you an overall sense of positivity as you work towards building your vision. A new vocabulary presents itself to you, and getting on first name basis with Kallax and Billy is a inevitable rite of passage, and one that I was fully prepared to embark on. Go strong, go with a budget, and accomplish with pride. Time to do battle with the Billy. Never thought I'd say that sentence. My good friend assured me that IKEA stuff was easy to build. I must say, the experience was pleasant for a build, easy to read instructions and not too laborious. Slight screw and hammer work needed towards the end, but this was going to be just the storage I needed for multiple gaming systems and games. Already it felt like I'd made the right decision to go through the pain of upheaval and chaos to provide a hopefully more tranquil and calming environment. But looking at the sea of cables and consoles meant it was time to press on, as I had barely scratched the surface. More glass shelves needed to come down. The room will not just be a room to entertain, but a working office too, so particular attention would be needed in how to segregate the areas off in a neat and formal manner, and as not to pose too much distraction when operating as a fully fledged office. Distractions aside, I had to think carefully of how many TVs could realistically fit in this room. Getting used to the sea of strewn consoles across the floor, big plastic monoliths that were sitting dormant, 3 glass shelves down and 1 to go. The main workhorse was going to be an Xbox One S, doubling up as a media centre, but we'll come on to that in a short while. The glass era was over. The sofa needed to swap over to the opposite side of the room, so it would now face the other wall. This will make much more sense at a later time. By this stage, it didn't really feel like it was making too much progress. I was still standing in a load of consoles and cables, and at times felt that my vision would never be truly realised. Following many YouTube game room tours, there was only really one clear winner for the console rehousement, and that was a Kallax unit. Going for a simple yet effective white, this Kallax hosted 8 identical cubicles that are perfect for any big or small console. But it gets even better. I had procured some little slide-out cloth drawers for the ends, which would also solve a massive handheld problem. The Kallax takes centre stage in the room and will be the main focal point for many of the older consoles. A Kallax needed a helping hand to lift it slightly so I could slide with ease my additional peripherals in clear Perspex boxes. Now it was really getting exciting. Rigging up the consoles and housing them started to make this feel real. Finally, my tiny monitor was coming handy and fitting perfectly here. Another Kallax would be needed for the opposite side of the room, and as my good friend would say, a tall lad. An open configuration tall Kallax with 4 cubbyhole zones will provide assistance as the main media centre. Things were filling up fast at Kallax Zone 2 and starting to look a little messy, but at least things were starting to be off the floor, which gave me minor comfort. Could use cheap projectors for a good effect, but I want better than good. Hadn't been able to play my racing wheel since moving into this house, so this was also a specific requirement to have it always ready to go and construct a dedicated racing arena. Limits to how much we can keep hoping this stack will tidy itself. By this point I also realised I have too many lamps, not enough plugs or USB sockets. It is astonishing how quickly you run out of ample appliance sockets. It was at this point I realised that I still needed to buy even more extension leads and cables, but luckily, as it is the future, many of these also contained a steady supply of USB inputs for all lighting solutions. A sleek tall lad Kallax is ideal to house some newer consoles, so we've got the Switch, PS4, PS3, Xbox One S. Although none of these consoles are really new, they are far newer than what is sat in the other Kallax. Multiple consoles for multiple fun areas. Not paying enough attention to detail meant that I had failed to secure the Kallax legs, meaning some instability was showing and a slight misalignment, meaning everything had to come back off the unit, causing many more hours of frustration. But I could not risk consoles becoming untethered or crashing down around me. Extra drama added for effect. So after much rehousing again in little cubes, back to some sort of normality. Although does a game room ever get to be normal? Constant flux, constant changes in what will hopefully be an entertainment room of wonder. Pretty much every unit, every console has been sourced from, of course, a local car boot sale. The dedicated wheel area is just a basic Logitech wheel. The end of the office is also home to random Pandora plug and play arcade box, also sourced ridiculously cheap at a car boot, £17. Hooked up to a cheap telly. Well, I say cheap, it was cast aside and left for free on my local street. Bargain. Attempts to bathe the room in a deep red gave warmth and comfort. Billy looking better. Non-3D PS3 games will live here. PS3 has a number of tricks up its sleeve and can still compete with the best of them, whatever that means. Building a tiny Mega Drive collection as cheap as possible. Dedicated wheel area needs dedicated racing games, so I thought I would collect some specialities that can be fully available at a moment's notice. A realignment of suitable framed gaming history. No actual room for seating here, but I don't mind standing for a bit to play a few arcade classics. Double Dragon, a personal favourite of mine, and still to this day I get shivers when I boot this game up and hear the roar of the garage door rise and Billy and Jimmy emerge, ready to duff up everyone they can. Need to sort a decent seating arrangement for that wheel though. The office is a working home office, so I wanted a sense of separation and not constantly looking out to various distractions via a lot of consoles. So the main office rig and desk means that my back is facing all the good stuff. Room is too small for dividers, and I wanted to maintain an open plan feel. Every gaming zone needs an ability to store ample nuts and refreshments, and this under-counter fridge drawer is perfect for housing a multitude of snacks and light beverages. You never know when you might need a nibble on a nut. Like the Mega Drive, I got equally excited about creating a small bespoke collection of Sega Dreamcast games to enjoy. A decent machine, but again many out of my price range. But it's not about the quantity, it's about the games and systems you enjoy. I'm not a huge collector of games, although they are growing at a terrific pace, so I try to look at small individual collections when collecting in the physical plane of existence, but I am not interested in any kind of full sets of everything. Great book on the Super Nintendo. You guessed it. Car boot, £2. Portable DVD player could provide distraction, but for now I have nowhere else to place it. 34-inch wraparound monitor to make me feel like I'm on the Starship Enterprise. Important to keep your feet and bones rested when doing multiple hours of office work. More IKEA slide-out containers, useful to hide a multitude of pads. There's pads everywhere. You always need a good pad to hand. I'm trying to place the most used pads nearest to my hand for full accessibility. Office chair will do for now, but I'm sure I have an old chair I'm not utilising somewhere that could be easily swapped out. Feeling things were lacking in the ability to sit and enjoy a nice cup of tea and place a receptacle on a table meant that I had to source a table. The existing table was just no good. It had done me well, but it was too high and the wheels had broke, and one of the main important wooden beams had cracked. Plus, it was a dining table, so not in keeping with the general theme of the room. What was the theme? I'm not sure. But I wasn't prepared to dine every time I wanted to play Sonic 2. No, I needed something smaller and in the correct colour scheme, but storage was optimal still. Not really knowing what I wanted, I eventually settled on this from Amazon due to its seemingly transformerish ability to fold out into a huge gaming table, but also tuck back away when not needed. And even better, it had two large drawers either side, which would be perfect for at least 16 pads, and a load of random space inside the table. Not sure how many people I am ever expecting to host for, but hey, it pays to be ready to go at any time, surely. There was some additional media hype about LED lighting to this table too, but all that really meant is that there were some cheap LEDs attached to it, but another bathing of colour couldn't be bad, so I would keep that under advisement. This table was the most difficult thing to build in this room due to its hinge work and folding out. This caused me no end of problems in getting the hinges and brackets the right way round. So multiple goes at this table ended up in me throwing my toy Sonic around the room in frustration. Dusting off an old office chair breathed life into a now fully set up racing rig. You don't have to spend a fortune on decor, just a couple of cheap frames and cutouts from the highly successful ST Action magazine, rehoused in white frames to go with the general theme. It's not really Back to the Future, is it? It's Back to the Past in here. Got 3 of these, but 1 will do for now. It's nice, but this may not be right. Coming to the conclusion that I could do no more, I had to accept that for the final element of fun, I did need to embark on hiring of suitable skills, and that would be for the projector. Knowing that there was now a pristine wall ready for action, an integrated setup was needed. More cables to tidy. Ceiling mounting and cables away. A new bulbous Epson projector now adorned the ceiling, 4K and ready for action. Mild panic set in regarding the lampshade. It's not ideal, and one day I should get a spotlight, but the friendly projector man was able to work his magic and ensure it was moved just enough away for the projector to have an unobstructed view. With the lights off, this is pretty undetectable, and with a warm or cold beverage of choice, this does not pose any serious issue. A discreet optical cable into a £5 soundbar will have to do for now. Main media platform now rigged and ready for the first switch on. 75-inch screen from this distance is more than enough to give an immersive feel for a small bespoke room. 4K tastiness from the bulbous projector means the colours pop but not crackle. They snap but don't break. The sapphire screen has the ability to slowly retract, providing comfortable satisfaction. A little bit of white insulation tape should also close off any unnecessary black cabling. A light touch with a hand sanitizer wipe should ensure all surfaces sparkle. More tweaking of screens here and there and cabling, and I was almost ready to sit down. A splash of plant to give some chill vibes. £15 from a car boot. Pads in order to make me feel calm. No, not calm, organised. A Lego set in its rightful home. Now long deleted and worth a pretty penny. Signage to represent who I really was. Although I'm still not convinced who I really am, so does it really matter? Just glad this made the house move. And some retro gaming to really get down to the nitty gritty, all bathed in a nice hue, classic R-Type. Decided to treat myself and purchase a lifetime subscription to Antstream. If you've not checked that out, please do. It's like Netflix for retro games. Classic CRT. And there we have it. This probably took about 3 weeks of intense work, building into the late hours and many weekends not giving up. The projector is also 3D for added immersion, which will be tried later. And I have an ability to run Blu-ray 3D films either through the PlayStation 3 or Xbox One S, so I have options. I needed radio frequency RF glasses for this projector. And as luck would have it, I was gifted this Sony Trinitron CRT with added VHS player to enjoy good times. Still need to sort this monumental pile of handheld storage, which is ridiculous. And that Lego police station set is one of the first sets that I ever got as a small child. But yeah, far too many handhelds. A light dusting of themed coasters, 50 pence. If I get stuck, there's always more room in the loft. For now. Mission accomplished. If you have made it this far, I thank you. I hope you have enjoyed. Nothing more to say now, and I will see you another time.